Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, so if I stumble over my words moving forwards, apologies about that, and also apologies if the quality of this video is not too great either. If there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it can't be helped, and hopefully it is not much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision 2024 related video here on my channel, and another Melodifestivalen related video too, because right now I'm about to listen for the first time to snippets of all of the songs involved in semi-final 2 of this year's edition of Melfest, which is of course the Swedish selection method for the Eurovision Song Contest, and this year's ESC will take place for a third time in Malmö, Sweden. As always, you're welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discussed today by leaving a comment down below, and there are links in the description to my other social media pages. As always, check them out if you so wish. So, Melfest began last week, and not that I'm really scrolling through a lot of comments on social media these days, but I didn't really see too many people terribly excited for the return of it. But that might well have been because there were lots of other shows taking place last weekend. After the weekend was over, I did go through all of the shows and I checked out some of the performances, and I certainly checked out last week's edition of Melfest, and I have a few notes on the performances that we saw. Like I said a minute ago, do feel free to let me know your thoughts on the songs in question. I'll be going through this, and then I will be checking out the songs for semi-final 2. So last week the show was in Malmö, and it began with Adam Woods with Supernatural. This was so very basic, it must be said. Swedish people can write songs like this with their eyes closed. It is just pure Melfest for me. So basic, so vanilla, so typical. You know, if you're coming into Melfest expecting music like this, you got it straight away last weekend. I've written here, pretty generic, and as expected. He was sort of interacting with white lines on the stage floor, and then there were all of these swirling lines on the backdrop behind him. I felt it lost any slight bit of momentum it had early on, quite a bland chorus, and he was dressed casually in a black outfit. This has gone through to the runoff vote / second chance round, which we'll get in a few weeks' time. 66 points, third place. So he will perform this track again, but it's really quite unremarkable, I have to say. Moving on to Samir and Victor with Hela Världen Väntar. This is out. Perhaps a bit of a surprising result there. I liked some things about the performance, but mostly I thought it was a massive disappointment. They seemed out of breath. It seemed as though they were letting most of the backing track do the heavy lifting. The energy that they've had in previous Melfest performances didn't seem to be quite hitting the mark this time. I don't know, it was just lacking a little extra sparkle that perhaps they've brought to the table in the past. I've written here, again, basic, not too different from their older stuff, not the strongest singers, fairly fun, staircases on stage, again, dressed quite casually. They had a group of dancers with them in white outfits, and there was a sort of dance break, if I remember, which seemed really out of place with the song as a whole. I think it was after the first chorus or something, I can't quite recall. And I've written here, dance break unnecessary question mark. Yeah, it's a song that I would quite happily listen to again, but it did fall a bit flat in comparison to what they've had in the past. Then we had Melina Borgloo with Min Melodi, which finished last, 26 points. As expected, quite cutesy, green dress I believe, guitar, lamps on stage, just too forgettable. There's really nothing else to say about this. It really didn't stand out, even though we only had 6 songs. It was always likely to finish last, I'm afraid to say. Then we have Elisa Lindström with Forever Yours. This is through to the second chance round runoff vote. 69 points, second place, behind the song I'll mention in just a moment's time. This was really going in the vein of full-on Schlager pop. Yes, it's a bit dated. Yes, it wouldn't be the right choice for Eurovision. But I've listened to this quite a bit over the past few days, and I really enjoyed it for what it is. It wasn't trying to be something it isn't, if you see what I mean. It was just 3 minutes of happy fun, you know? I've written here, she was in a white dress with sort of glitter all over her arms. She had this shell structure on stage, and then some dancers came out. Fairly catchy. She was really going for those big notes as well. I enjoyed it for what it was. Nothing amazing, but certainly this was quite refreshing. Then we have Lisa Ayak's Awful Liar. This came through as the winner of the second round of voting with 86 points. This is another fine effort from Lisa. I've said before on my channel, I like her. I've liked all of her previous Melfest entries. I think she's got a great voice. This is maybe not quite hitting top gear, certainly, but it's still a pretty decent showing. A simple ballad, nothing original. She was in a black dress. She is several months pregnant, so understandably not a whole lot of movement. But then again, with this type of song, you don't really need a whole lot of movement. She didn't have dancers on stage with her. They didn't really add anything. You had, I think it was a few rock-like structures on stage. Okay, fair enough. She was sitting down at one point. Fairly emotional in terms of the subject matter, I would say. Really nice. This is through to the final, as I just said. I'm not sure it's going to do terribly well in a few weeks' time, but you never know. The winner of this semi-final was smashed into pieces with Heroes Are Calling. We don't know the specificities of the result for this, but I imagine that this was quite some way ahead of Lisa Ayak's, to be honest. This is a fairly polished sort of rock metal type track. We know Smash Into Pieces. They finished very high up on the scoreboard last year in Melfest. I would say this is maybe a little bit more accessible than their entry last year. If you're not a big fan of this type of music, you probably heard this last week and thought it was perfectly fine. I've written Linkin Park because it did have elements of their music in this. Laser-like lights needed a little bit more oomph at times, but on the whole this was fairly polished stuff, can't complain, and no surprises that it cruised through to this year's Melfest final. There's nothing else to say about it. Let's now turn our attention to this week's Heat 2, which will take place in Gothenburg at a venue which has hosted Eurovision itself. 6 more songs. We have When I'm Gone by Maria Sur, and again, big songwriting team, as many of these songs have. Maria was in the final last year. She's from Ukraine. She's only about 19 or something. And there was a moment last year where we all thought she was probably going to win Melfest, but in the end she never came close. The juries weren't so keen on her song either. Then we have Norrland by Engmans Kapell, and I have a feeling this is going to be sort of happy-go-lucky but very dated stuff. Yes, okay, fair enough. Then we have The Silence After You by Dear Sarah, and I'm really looking forward to that one. She was actually on the Artists to Watch post that I put up on the joint Instagram page several weeks ago. Ben from Denmark's Ben and Tan has co-written that one. Then we have Ahuma by C. Joe, which I think might be some sort of rap song. Then we have Dragon by Liamu. We know all about Liamu. I think he's in his late 20s. He's been in Melfest a bunch of times, including with Hannah Fern. And again, pretty big songwriting team for that particular track. And then we have Fröken Snusk with Unga och Fria. And she's a fairly controversial figure, I would say, in Sweden. I don't know a huge amount about her. Nobody really knows who she is. But that's definitely a performance to keep an eye out for. Fröken Snusk has written it with Sarah Ryan, and she's on last in Heat 2. So, I'm on the SVT Play website. What I'm watching won't be in the bottom corner of the video you're watching. It is entirely possible there will be quite a bit of lag here, and you may hear my laptop whirring away with excitement in the background. That can't be helped. As I did last week, I'm going to go through this in order of least interested in to most interested in. So we'll begin with Engmans Kapell with Norrland. As always, let me know your thoughts on these tracks. If I had to make a wild prediction now before hearing a single second, I would say Maria Sur and Liamu will go through to the final, and I would say Dear Sarah and Fröken Snusk will go through to the second chance round, which isn't really called that anymore, but I'm calling it that anyway. So yes, it's just taking a few moments to load up here. I'm probably going to be deafened as well. Engmans Kapell up first. This is the one that I'm least interested in. Okay. Already, it seems like quite a cheerful track. Okay, I quite like the violin. Oh, this is perfectly fine, isn't it? But I'm not sure it's a qualifier. Norrland. Yeah, these are 55-second long snippets. It just moves along, a nice, gentle rhythm. It's nothing outstanding, it's sort of as I expected it to be. Quite like the instrumentation, but I can't see many people really going big for it, but you never know. Let's now take a look at Sijo with Ahuma, and I'm not expecting a great deal from this one either, I'll be honest with you, but let's see what it's all about. Oh. Oh, okay. This sounds like it should be, you know, a World Cup song or something. I guess this is a sort of Afrobeat thing. Uplifting. And it's a different sound. Oh, this isn't too bad at all, actually. I thought it was going to be more straight-up rap, but it's not. Shake your body. Yeah, well, that wasn't too bad at all, actually. Quite a, again, refreshing sound to it, I suppose. Yeah, not bad. Next up, we will check out, I think, Dear Sarah, with The Silence After You. Here we go. This could be quite nice. I believe she's from the very north of Sweden, don't quote me on that. Okay. She's got quite a high-pitched voice. Hopeful chorus. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say this is too original, but you know, I quite like the momentum it has. Oh, this isn't bad at all. Yeah. I really don't mind her voice either. Well, yeah, that wasn't bad. Can't really say much more than that, you know. Still waiting for that absolutely true magic song to pop up. Maybe it is in this heat, I don't know. Let's now check out Fröken Snusk with Unga och Fria. There they are with the balaclava over their face, so they might be robbing a bank after this. Let's see what it's all about, shall we? The last song in this heat. Oh my god, my god. This sounds like Pia och Dräng by Drängarna in Melfest a few years ago. If you remember that song, which I have to say I did enjoy, it immediately strikes me as similar to that. Immediately. Dear me. I was expecting something really quite jarring here. Instead, we've just got a sort of party track. Oh, this is fine, actually. This is not bad. It's a fun time. The instrumentation's quite interesting. It's got some sort of Celtic thing going on. Well, I think that was actually the last part of the song that was played there. I'm going to use that word again. It did feel quite refreshing. And I was expecting something really quite on the messy side, but we didn't get that. Instead, we have a sort of party track. Let's now listen to Liamu with Dragon, and I have to say I'm expecting bog standard slick pop. Okay. Starting off quite soft here. Fairly haunting, I suppose. Tell me what I'm really about. Yeah, this sounds promising, you know. Moving along as I'd expect. Okay, this is the chorus. Fairly repetitive and maybe not as explosive as I wanted. Okay, but definitely that sounded fairly promising. No doubt about it. Didn't mind it at all. That leaves Maria Sur, who's opening this heat, with When I'm Gone. Is this a ballad again or something more up-tempo? A river flowing through the night. Again, this is quite reserved to begin with. Okay, it is more up-tempo. Du-du-dum, 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 du-du-dum. She is a good singer. Pre-chorus, reining it in before it really hits top gear, I guess. Oh, I hope this chorus isn't truly generic, but I don't think we're going to get it in this snippet. Oh, what a teaser. What a teaser. Well, that's it. What? I don't know what that says. That is all of the songs in Heat 2 of this year's Melfest. I don't think there's anything there that could be going to Eurovision, but you just never know. I think it is going to be Liamu and Maria Sur going through directly there. But I really don't know how big Fröken Snusk's fan base is. It could be massive. Nevertheless, Maria and Liamu going through automatically. Fröken Snusk, and I'm very tempted to say Sijo, actually. But Dear Sarah is the more maybe vanilla choice, and Sweden might plump for that instead. So, okay, just to recap, Maria and Liamu going through automatically, I suppose, and Fröken Snusk and Dear Sarah going through to the run-off vote, with Sijo 5th and Engmans Kapell in 6th. And we'll see if that prediction has any truth to it later in the week. Let me know your thoughts on that batch of songs, Heat 2 of this year's Melodifestivalen, and I'll be back with another video fairly soon. Apologies if the quality wasn't that great. But yes, there's so much stuff happening at the end of this week in the world of Eurovision, certainly a lot next week. I'm still recovering from last night's somewhat bizarre Sanremo results. But we move. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye for now.